It is great to see so many of you here as we share the latest development of the Asia Pacific Green Alliance. And I want to thank you and welcome everyone here. And thank you for the CASI Secretariat, especially Mick, for organizing the webinar. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Peter McMullen, President of CASI, cannot join us today. So he asked us to continue the meeting, and we wish him all the best for his day. A little bit about history, maybe a little bit closer to myself, how sustainability first hit me in a big way. I remember the time is 2021 in Kuala Lumpur, and at that point of time, still a little bit of COVID measure. So big seminar of 300-400 people was a challenge to conduct. So I was one of the panelists, and the panel has sustainability as one of the topic. Obviously, I was representing Singapore Manufacturing Federation, and I remember a Italian delegate up front point out to the audience and say, ladies and gentlemen, do you know that Singapore is one of the highest per capita waste generation in the world? So it was difficult for me at that point of time to give a good answer and feedback. So basically is, what are you doing about it, Singapore, right? So it is later on that I find out that the reason why Singapore is branded that way is because we are one of the bigger oil refineries in the region, and we are exporting 95% of the products to overseas. And Singapore at a point of time we roughly have about 5 million people. So if you calculate the total carbon footprint divided by 5 million, including those products that we are exporting, then obviously that is a big number. Now, fast forward to today, and that was really the first time that it hit me hard that the world is watching, the world is concerned that each country should be playing the role. Closer to today, in Singapore, in SMF, we have quite a large number of multinationals having production in Singapore, and they told me that they are really worried for some of the Singapore smaller SME manufacturers. Say that we've been telling them some of our ESG requirement, our sustainability requirement, and they are not taking us seriously. But there will come one day that they'll say that, look, in 6 months' time, you don't comply, you're out of our supply chain, right? So this is the time that I believe that a lot of help is required, a lot of guidance is required, especially for SMEs, to start on board, to start their sustainability program. Obviously, anyone can start the program, but if you were to measure yourself or you prepare yourself under the European standard, or largely we call the Western standard, it is a tall order. It will cost an average, and Clara, my colleague, would probably give you a better sense, an average of 100 to 200,000 US dollars just to start, qualifying yourself to this. And usually it takes you 1 to 2 years to get ready. So this is where we want to say, look, can we have a program that SMEs can then take mini steps? Maybe they will take the first step, we will award them something, they take a second step, a higher recognition, and so on. So when I speak to Peter about this idea, he embraced it, and hence the idea of the Asia Pacific Green Alliance was established. So the effort is for the Asia Pacific region in driving sustainable business practices, fostering green innovation, but more appropriately is to set a common benchmark for corporate sustainability. So it is difficult to influence countries. Excuse me. Therefore, it is an alliance that we believe, to start with, for trade associations, businesses, and thought leaders. APGA then provides a structured platform to accelerate sustainability adoption, ensuring enterprise, both big and small, can contribute and benefit from green economy. Excuse me. So APGA was officially launched on the 38th CASI conference on the 12th November 2024 by our Senior Minister of State, Desmond Tan, the Prime Minister Office. And hence, we now have a large number of founding partners. So for today, we will discuss more about this. And may I introduce my good colleague, Ms. Clara Kran, to produce an update about APGA. And then afterwards, our expert panel will show their insight on the latest trend, challenges, and opportunities in sustainability in the Asia Pacific, and how businesses can take meaningful action to leverage on APGA. Clara, take away, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Clara. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Asia Pacific Green Alliance. So having a mix of people here, I think let me give a very short introduction on APGA and the latest developments. So Asia Pacific Green Alliance, what are we? So as Lennon mentioned, it was officially launched on the 12th November last year. So it's a couple of months old. But since even from our launch, we have got a very strong support from many different areas. So our founding members include Singapore Manufacturing Federation, ISCA, Singapore Business Federation, of course, not forgetting right in the center is CASI, the great supporter of APGA, together with GS1 and the Singapore International Chamber of Commerce. So the second line are our ecosystem partners, and this was as of the date of 12th November. So since then, we have actually quite a few more ecosystem partners coming on board, hoping to provide more value to our members and to the companies that come on board with us. So along that, we actually have also since then appointed quite a few GEM, Green Excellence for Manufacturing, and Green Excellence for Business ambassadors with Tuas Power and Continental. And as recent as the Manufacturing Day Summit in Singapore in January, we've gone on to appoint HP, Huawei, Lenovo, Schneider Electric, and Zebra Technologies as our honorary gold gem marks. So this is based on their advanced sustainability levels, demonstrating a strong commitment to sustainable operations, not just for 1 year or a few months, but rather for over several years, allowing them for this recognition of the Gold Gem Mark certification. So this is to inspire others to reach that level as well. So what exactly is APGA? So our mission is to empower companies with simplified, actionable sustainability tools while advocating Asia-Pacific priorities on the global stage. As put it very simply by Lennon, is that we want to unite Asia-Pacific in the green standards so that we are able to unify with this standard where we can actually ease our trade by recognizing each other's similar mark, knowing that we have similar sustainability standards. So from vision to action, what actually do we do? So basically 4 main areas, okay, from standards and certification, support, to educate and benchmark, and to build networks for, and to advocate for change. So firstly, most importantly, we would like to establish a unified APEC reporting standard, and that's where we and recognize its excellence with the tiered certification of bronze, silver, and gold. I will go on to explain a little more on what that means, but really with these marks, right, or just by seeing the bronze, the silver, and the gold, you know your supply chain, your customers, where they are. You know that at least with this bronze mark, they are embarking on their sustainability journey. So along with that, we do like to provide a sustainability guidance, right, and analysis and even consulting to help develop their sustainability strategies that are catered to every individual company. And along with that, we understand that for sustainability, it's really a mindset change. So we offer international, regional, and even localized training on the standards, certification, and best practices. And together, we would like to build a partnership with industry bodies, governments, and NGOs to amplify the Asia Pacific voice globally. In addition to that, there will be a marketplace of sustainability and services for cross-collaboration opportunities between the different companies in different countries. But why is there, if there's ever a question of do we need to do sustainability or are we worried about trends at the moment? There's a belief that sustainability is here to stay. Consumers are willing to pay more for premium for sustainable goods and services. And the trend is that we need to do good for society so that we can have a sustainable and future-ready business. So as you can see, this is a general timeline, and because this screen can only take that, it's already very tiny in this word, so I couldn't put in every Asia-Pacific economy requirements in this slide. But as you can see, almost every country are progressively introducing more and more ESG regulations to date. So starting now, it's less of a bit of a mad rush when it becomes mandatory for you in the future. So the sustainability market is definitely skyrocketing across Asia Pacific. I know that Asia Pacific Green Alliance, it's a new kid on the block, having been officially launched in November last year. But this is where we have the first mover advantage. We get to be the leading voice to shape the future of Asia Pacific sustainability and lead the corporate transformation. And of course, to capitalize on the booming market. Let me explain a little bit more on the GM and GEB certification and why it's good for businesses. So there are a few reasons here that I've listed out, from market differentiation to operational efficiency and to access to a sustainable supply chain. It's good for reputation. And of course, more importantly, it's the progressive framework for sustainability. Right now, most of the sustainability reporting that you see in the market only tells you where you are right now. That does not help you improve or make any difference to the future. So that's why we came up with the bronze, silver, and gold tier to encourage companies to know where they are right now, to know their baseline, and to strive towards improvements to make a difference, not just for the environment, but for the business as well. So how can one be categorized as a bronze, silver, or gold, you might wonder. So here's a little bit of insight into our methodology. So companies are evaluated based on their performance across the different criteria of E, S, and G. So this assessment considers both the existing sustainability efforts and the adoption of recognized standards and certifications. So the tiers of bronze, silver, and gold are awarded based on the total points accumulated across these categories. So from the environment side, we're looking at what are the policies that the company has from environmental protection or sustainable design or energy savings as well. And including in the social aspects, what is the diversity of their headcount and the continued education and healthcare of its workers. And on the governance aspects, we're looking into the accountability and transparency of its management. And we do recognize that there are basically two tiers. One is really the policies that are put in place. And second, the actual work that's been done so that the policies are not just a white elephant. So here we actually do look into, so we like to see ourselves different from other certifications in the sense that we are not exclusive by saying that, we only recognize the gem marks or the jet marks and the others are do not have any weightage. Here we actually do look into the different certifications such as the Green Mark, LEED, or the ISO standards, any sort of certification that you have already started on your journey, you should be rewarded on that, right? And also encouraged to do more. So we will actually evaluate each effort's relevance and eligibility for points. So where we come from is that we looked into the UN SDG goals, the 17 of them, and we kind of map where a company's efforts are on these 17, and we take reference from, say, the science-based targets, as well as the extended producer responsibility schemes, and the different ESG standards by the different economies around Asia Pacific. So we are not saying that we are only using the Singapore standard, we're using only the Hong Kong standard or Thailand standard. We actually put that in totality on what Asia Pacific businesses are usually expected to have. So basically, how the bronze, silver, and gold are tiered is that bronze is a recognition of this initial basic commitment to sustainability with some integration into their business practices. For example, initial steps that are taken towards measuring performance and impact. For silver, we are expecting a little more, stronger integration of sustainability into their core operations with measurable goals, so such as things like innovation in your products and active engagement with stakeholders. And for gold, that's quite the gold standard, as you have seen our honorary gold members. They do actually have a very good performance in all the different categories, showcasing leadership, not just for 1 year, for a continuous several years, to show that they are truly embedding sustainability in their businesses. So just a quick point, not highlighting Schneider Electric as anything, but for this year, they have won the most sustainable company in the world. So let's look into some of the practices that they have. So number one, they launched the Schneider Sustainability Impact Program for several years, and they are hoping to continue that. And they have ambitious targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, energy consumptions, and water usage. They also implemented the Zero Carbon Project, aimed at reducing carbon emissions from top suppliers by 50% this year. So they are also engaging their suppliers, the supply chain, to do this with them. So they actually achieved significant progress in that area, with carbon emissions from top 1,000 suppliers falling by 27% in 2023. So with things like access to energy program and trying to achieve carbon neutrality this year and net zero emissions by 2050, we have actually put down points for each of these and more, reviewing their sustainability reports to award them the gold. So on top of the certification, one of the immediate benefits that companies can come on board upon the GEM or GEP certification is the APGA marketplace. So this is where we see ourselves as a credible source for sustainable products and services. So people will have access to GEM or GEP certified suppliers to ensure that the products will meet the sustainability standards that they are trying to achieve, and is a one-stop platform for a wide range of products, meaning we do not restrict the kind of products or services. Mainly, we want to showcase how sustainability can help your company, gain a wider market. Yeah. So from the member side, by joining onto this platform, you get the recognition that you're on this platform with other similar sustainable companies to help members to expand internationally, so you can benefit from APGA's tools and support to enhance your product offerings. So you might wonder, how does this all work with APGA? And so here, I guess with CASI and speaking to its members of CASI, as a chamber, these are the very simple 3 steps. So APGA has a suite of Asia Pacific sustainability tools, right? We have awareness training, workshops, and many different types of options for new advisors and companies. So we set the standard, working with you on what are your local standards in your economy, in your country, and together sharing of the reports and toolkits, you are ready to start your sustainability mini office for your members. So in step 2, you can then implement these local standards either through APGA, or if you have your own resources, to appoint local consultants to do sustainability reporting for your members using APGA's methodology. So once they just need to submit these sustainability reports to APGA, we are then able to certify it for the GM or GEP certification with a joint logo from you. And step 3 is this is where you help your member companies achieve sustainable business practices. So they are able to then take the full competitive advantage to fulfill their customer requirements, attract new customers, comply regulations, and cost savings and efficiency. So along the way, any point in time where if you are able to provide the help needed to your members, feel free to do so and tap onto our toolkits. If not, we are also able to provide the consultancy service and any other support that you will need. So here, Lennon told me to come up with a special package for today. It's a limited time offer of 33% off the original membership fee for Chambers. So it's a 3-year membership at $10,000. You get a list of goodies that you can benefit. So including premium branding, early access to tools and insights, be part of our negotiations with the different government agencies to make a difference on how to address the pain points of your members, and many different types of recognition in sustainability and public showcase. More importantly, so this is just the membership. So along the way, what Chambers can actually benefit from is by offering the APGA toolkits or training courses or the GEM certifications or JAP certifications. We will do a profit sharing between yourselves and APGA. So if you're interested, feel free to scan right now or reach out to me. Yeah. So just alone, we can do so little, but together, we can do so much. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Clara, for that presentation. I think I'm particularly excited about the APGA, given that I was there in Singapore when you formally announced the launch of the alliance. So that was very, very exciting. So it's great to see some of the progress you've made even in the last 3 or 4 months since we got the official launch in November in Singapore at the CASI conference. So the next person I wanted to throw to was Stuart Thompson. So Stuart, I'll leave it up to you to give a wonderful introduction to yourself and the work that you're doing and all the hats that you wear. But I'll give it over to you, Stu.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Clara, and thank you, Lennon, and especially Lennon. Thank you for your leadership as Vice President for Entrepreneurship, for Sustainability at the Confederation of Asia Pacific Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Also, want to have a shout out to our president, as Lennon did. He started this work, probably 3 years ago. He started the work a long time ago, but as CASI president, like 3 years ago, under the agenda of helping business get set for the future. The first S being sustainability. And he put that right up front, that he saw this as a business imperative. He saw this as a really, really important thing that Chambers especially, but also the whole business community need to embrace. He saw it as a business opportunity, and he still does. I'm honoured to be the Vice President for Entrepreneurship at CASI, and I've held that title for the last few months, working with Peter and other vice presidents on our work. So today I just wanted to talk, before we sort of get into questions, talk a little bit about the role of entrepreneurship in sustainability, and some of the reflections that I've had over the last, well, more than 3 months, but the time I've been working with entrepreneurs, which has been quite a while, and just sort of see how things are, what's the state of play. Firstly, I mean, obviously we're going through a time of huge change. There's been change in the White House. There's been change in all kinds of dynamics globally. Geopolitical issues are ripe. But when I talk to entrepreneurs, it's a mixed bag. It's not as simple as that. And I just want to sort of provide some reflections around that. So firstly, yes, it's not good for business to have uncertainty. Policy certainly would be ideal. We don't have that at the moment. But as you know, entrepreneurs, they're pretty opportunistic. They want to see if there's opportunity in this as well. And they believe that there is an opportunity. And there's probably one big reason for that. Despite many now then exiting or becoming less interested potentially in this issue, as Clara says, you'll be able to gain greater credibility with your consumers, greater credibility with your staff, and you'll be able to have a much clearer market definition for your product. And so there's probably never been a greater time as an entrepreneur or as an SME to really step into the sustainability space, get ahead of the crowd, because the second thing I was going to say, and this is what all entrepreneurs say, especially those below the age of 50, I don't want to be ageist here because I am actually over 50, but they know this is happening. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to understand the climate's changing. So whether it be regulation, whether it be your consumer sort of desires or employee desires, investor desires or investor pressure, this time is coming. That people have to mix their business models with sustainability outcomes. It is what is going to be expected on all those fronts. And it's very, very important for those entrepreneurs and the realization of those entrepreneurs that this is not going away. It is not going away. So many of the entrepreneurs we speak to are embracing that challenge. I mean, and even give some of the even more difficult sort of scenarios we're facing. You know, CBAM, you could argue, is becoming a little bit less strong. You could argue some of the policies are definitely coming out of the US of ESG. But what some of the entrepreneurs are saying, and this is also where this Green Alliance comes in, it's about trying to also have a bit more of an equal playing field across different countries and to establish a more even playing field and move forward together. So whilst it's probably not a great thing that Europe might be backing away from some of these things, it calls on all of us then to level up and to try and push forward together. So, like I said, entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship is alive and well in this space, and I think the Asia Pacific Green Alliance offers a really, really important opportunity to all businesses in the region, whether you're a startup or whether you're a business that's been going for a long time. It's time to get involved, and just also say, I just want to finish with this, talking with entrepreneurs, talking with small business owners. The concern is real. The concern is real for the environment. The concern is real for their community and the community impacts. So it's really important to understand that and help our small businesses, our medium-sized businesses, in making the transition, both for economic outcomes, but also because I think we're all concerned. So I'll leave it there. I'm looking forward to some of the questions, but thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Stu. I really appreciate the overview that you provided alongside entrepreneurship and sustainability. I've got more questions about that to come. I just wanted to welcome everyone to the next segment of this webinar, which is the Q&A. So we've got obviously an expert-led panel of Clara, Stu, and Lennon, and wanted to thank you again. So here's your virtual round of applause for the introductions and presentations that you've done. As an introduction to myself, my name is Michael Lim, and I'm the founder of a digital marketing agency called Launch Hero. I help businesses increase their sales and monthly revenue. In relation to today, I'm a member of the Young Entrepreneurs Group of Asia Pacific, so YEGAP for short, if you're wondering what YEGAP after my name stands for. And YEGAP is part of the Confederation of Asia Pacific Chambers of Commerce and Industry, or CASI for short. We love our acronyms in this space, and we like to make them as hard as possible. So I'm from YEGAP as part of CASI. But today my role will be as host, panel host, and facilitate an action-packed conversation about the Asia Pacific Green Alliance, or APAC for short. In keeping with today's theme of sustainability and going green, I have worn the best green shirt that I could find. My panelists have not. They've opted for a more traditional color, but that's okay. I'm leading the green revolution here on this panel. But before we get into the first question, I wanted to invite guests who have joined this webinar to put in the chat which country, chamber, and/or organization that you are representing. And from the presentations that we've had so far, if there was any specific questions that you had for any one of our panelists, or more general questions that you wanted the panel to address. So I'll give you a couple of moments to do that. As I mentioned before, I'm very excited for this webinar, given we do have a hand up. If you want to put it in the chat, we're not going to get people to say the question live. So if you just put it in the chat column, if I'm saying that correctly. As I mentioned, I'm very excited for this webinar, given Stu and I and Clara and Lennon were on a panel at the CASI conference last year in Singapore, launching the APAG last year. So it's great to see the progress that's being made, but also some of the potentially tough implementation questions that we can address in the webinar today. So again, please feel free to put any questions you have in the comments, and I'll be able to bring them up to the panelists. But I'm going to go in reverse order today. And Stu, that means you're first. So I'm putting you on notice. You wear a couple of different hats in relation to CASI. Obviously, you've been appointed as the Vice President of Entrepreneurship late last year. So congratulations again. You work directly with the President of CASI in your role as Chief of Staff, as also the co-founder and CEO of the Good Business Foundation. Last year, you led a study focusing on entrepreneurs and sustainability around the Asia Pacific region. Can you tell us what were some of the takeaways from that study?
Thanks, Michael, and also just to credit you also for support and all the hard work you did in supporting that study. So thank you for that. Yeah, I'll just touch a little bit about I guess it's about 6 months now. The President McMullen asked us to sort of find out from our members what role could CASI and our member chambers play in supporting the transition. Obviously, the APAC Green Alliance is a really, really important thing, but just to ask from our members to sound out what role CASI, but also other chambers could play in environmental sustainability. So we led a study across 10 countries. We had a very wide-ranging sort of group of small and medium-sized businesses we talked to, from 25-year-old solo entrepreneurs to sort of people who had a family business at the age of 70 and thinking about succession planning. To be honest with you, it was a fascinating experience just being on in that research and seeing some of the answers. But we had 3 key insights. I could go and talk all day, and if you want me to talk all day about it, I will, but I'll just talk about the 3 key insights we had from that study. And some of them aren't surprising, but some of them were a little bit surprising. The first key insight was that small and medium-sized businesses weren't being properly supported. Now, as you got further and further up the food chain, so to speak, to the larger medium-sized businesses, they could either afford or have the staff to be able to take on some of these, as Clara just pointed out before, some of this very complex environment we're within at the moment. So some of those were okay. Some of the sort of solo, sole traders or so on, they were good because the size of their business and the reporting requirements were less and so on and so forth. But it was this we call the missing middle that was quite large across the whole of the Asia Pacific, and I'd even say globally, that were missing out in incentives from government, tax breaks. They weren't getting the they had sort of willingness but not the knowledge. So I guess the middle thing is this group of people that chambers literally have as probably their members weren't being properly supported. So this is why this is a very timely, this Asia Pacific Green Alliance. We also found that it wasn't uniform. There's the same problem. Everyone was concerned about sustainability. Everyone was either personally or professionally for their business, but some businesses were facing more issues than others around this topic. And so, for example, certain industries such as high energy industries, manufacturers, as SMF people know, Lennon and others will be able to speak more about that. Those businesses that are trading physical products across borders, coming up against things like CBAM, they were the ones that were, really asking for help. There were a number of other businesses that like tech businesses and online businesses that were less, firstly less energy dependent, but also less dependent on having to deal with physical products going over borders. So that was the second insight, that it wasn't uniform. And the third insight we had was that whilst there was willingness, there was mindset and so on. There was 2 main things they were asking us for. Firstly, the first things was they were asking us for helping build capability or skills within their business. And this is where Chambers and the Green Alliance can really offer chambers and businesses directly capability in understanding the landscape and how to address their reporting requirements, even some of the other issues that are coming up in this space. But also what they were feeling is they were lacking the network to deal with some of these questions. They were trusting each other more than they would trust a consultant, more than they would trust someone from the environmental movement. They really wanted to hear from each other, and they wanted to network within each other's and help each other solve their problems. So Chambers again could definitely play a very, very strong role in making a space where people can be honest with each other. They can, as we call, embrace the wrestle between trying to make your business still very commercially successful whilst thinking about the environment, thinking about the net zero imperative. So, like I said, I could speak all day about the study we conducted, and we are hoping, we will be producing a paper on that study that will be released pretty soon. And you no doubt will see that through the CASI network of what that study was and what further we learned from that important research. So I'll hand back to you, Michael, but I'm happy to take any further questions.
Thank you, Stu, for that overview. I have a follow-up question. Clara, did you have your hand up? Did you want to add anything to what Stu was saying, or is that a bit of a pressing of a button?
Pressing a button.
Okay, no, no worries. Stu,
Yes.
One of the things that Lennon mentioned during his introductory remarks was the cost of transition. So cost in both of time and in money. And Lennon mentioned, 2 to 3 years and upwards of, $120,000. One of the things in the study that came out pretty clearly was financing. So, who is going to pay for this and who is going to pay our business to support this transition? What were some of the options around blended finances that came up in the study?
Yeah, I mean, I feel this is a little bit outside my pay grade, but I will talk about the study and what people were saying at least, and try and represent those views as best as I can. So the situation is this: we have a planet that's in a really difficult situation environmentally, but we also have a business environment that has been built on environmentally, or many businesses have been built on environmentally unsustainable practices. And that's not because of, sometimes it might be, but I don't think so. The majority, I would say, have been built without any, mal intention for the environment. It's just the way business have been built. I mean, I think we're all pretty much addicted to oil, whether we've got our clothes on or whatever we're doing. So I don't think anyone's really clean here. So the question is this, okay, we've got this environment that's in trouble. We've got a business environment that's been built on unsustainable practice. How do we transition? And that's what we're talking about today. How do we transition to a net zero economy? And while a lot of the people we spoke to, I mean, they understand economics, they don't want to distort the market, but they were sort of saying we need to have market levers now to speed up the transition to a net zero economy, so we can actually save the planet in the time frame we need, and incentivize that change, provide opportunity for market definition, and improving credibility. And so there's a whole range of they call it blended finance options that were put to us. Things like structural reform, which could be around tax incentives for becoming more sustainable. I think the certification scheme, you might have access to certain types of services if you become a certain type of business or do certain types of things. And also just, reduce rates on loans, business loans, things like that would incentivize you taking action, like things that are tied to, if you do this, you get a reduced rate on your business loan. And even for some things, for taking on new technologies for manufacturers and so on, sort of subsidies and really helping businesses who really want to make the change to move along with that change. And I know in some countries that is very possible. I'm from Australia, Michael from Australia, and Singapore is probably very similar, where the government's playing a very strong role in helping businesses do this. But in places like Timor-Leste, where we work, or in places across the Asia Pacific, those types of business interventions and supports aren't there. And so this also requires donors, investors, they call it impact investors, to help also incentivize into those markets where they can, provide, say, for example, upfront support for a business to become more sustainable, but then get returns after the business becomes structuring up some kind of investment portfolio that would help those types of countries and those types of businesses to transition. But yeah, like I said, there's probably no end of types of vehicles that could be put together, context specific, country specific, but it definitely clearly came out from the study that whilst in some areas people don't want any market intervention, in this one, it's really, really important, or we're not going to get to where we need to go in the time we need to get there. So yeah, that's some of the reflections from the study.
Great. Thank you so much, Stu. In keeping with the order, I'll be going to Clara next. I just want to say that I had been made aware that the chat function is disabled. So if you're going a little bit crazy thinking, how am I chatting to them? It was due to my incompetence, not you. So you do have the Q&A function, so you can put any questions as well as a bit of intro to yourself. We do have one special guest from the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry from Sri Lanka. President Kirti is joining us. I'm very excited to be going to Sri Lanka later this year for the next CASI conference and visiting the beautiful Sri Lanka. So welcome. Clara, keeping in the theme of Chambers of Commerce, what is the role that Chambers of Commerce and Industry have in supporting their member businesses become more sustainable?
Right. So for chambers, I think they try to fulfill the needs of the members, and sustainability is a growing trend. But at the same time, they are also constrained by resources and money as well, and even knowledge. So that's something that many chambers do struggle with, and it's something that since we've actually announced in November of APGA, actually I've got quite a few chambers in Singapore that we are starting collaboration with, where we are providing our services to their chambers and to the associations. So this is something that I hope to be able to do from APGA to help the chambers actually, while you're busy helping your members do different type of networks, bringing them together, finding solutions for them. On the sustainability side, while you think about should you add the additional headcount or should you put in resources on something that may be quite technical for now, give us a try. And if we are able to give you that support and you think that is something that you would like to do more with your members, feel free to then use that as a starting point to offer different sustainability solutions for your members. Yeah.
Thanks, Clara. With some of the chambers that you've worked with, what were some of the initial hesitations of working with you, and how did you work to overcome them?
So for those that I'm in talks with right now, and we are actually having a joint carbon tracking workshop with two of the local associations in Singapore. I think initially they weren't sure if sustainability was something that the members were truly interested in. So then I encouraged them to then do a poll on what are the areas of sustainability that their members would like to do. It could be just talk, just a bit of a grousing on like why are there so many regulations coming into play. But at the same time, actually very often is they hope to have some hand holding. So based on that, that's where we came up with this carbon tracking workshop jointly done by SMF and with other trade associations. So that's a good starting point on a bit of a taste on what their members would like to know of, and you can then be more targeted in providing these sustainability solutions for them. So some of the companies may not be ready to do so. They might feel that they're too small, and some of them might feel that I'm so big that I don't need the association's help or chambers help. But at the same time, right, they would like to leverage on chambers to expand overseas using their sustainability credentials. Now, that's something that even the big companies will be more than happy to tap on as a marketing tool. So I think that sustainability through chambers can be for all. Yeah.
And if someone in the room today was interested in going to one of these workshops or organizing one of these workshops with you and your team, what's the first step they take?
email me, contact me, reach out to me,
Excellent.
sign up, the scan me. Let's share the share me page again later. So I do tailor make these different workshops as a starting point for the different chambers because especially when it hasn't been starting out, they might either want to do a poll first, so we are able to then help in those polls. At the same time, maybe what is the minimum of a bit of that doesn't have too much. It's not like a 2 day full day course, something for the members that might be a bit overwhelming. So every chambers actually have a different appetite.
Okay. Stuart, I've noticed that your hand is up. Was that a deliberate hand up?
This was a deliberate hand up this time.
Okay, excellent. All right.
Thank you.
What's
I
your
just want to
question,
follow on.
Stu?
Just Clara was when she was speaking, sort of reminded me of something that it was also a motivation. I think I'm speaking for the president here, but definitely from what I've noticed in the evolution of chambers over the last 10 or 15 years or so, even longer, is that chambers once upon a time and still is. I mean, it's a trusted network. The people come together for building relationships, to doing doing business with each other, but to also share in a trusted and safe environment some of the challenges they're facing, some of the solutions they might have. And the reality is, and chambers have, I mean, amazing. If you look at the global network of chambers, local, you go to the smallest village in Indonesia to the biggest place in New York, or there's chambers there. So chambers are very, very well positioned to take on and address some of these big challenges. But there's a big but here. If chambers do not do that, people will look for other ways to help solve their problems, and they will go online and they will look for other networks and they will look for other people. So I just want to say this is about helping business, but it's also about helping chambers. It's about helping chambers be relevant. It's about helping chambers earn revenue, and it's help chambers be a network that's fit for the future. So I just wanted to sort of put that in there to say that it's not all just about us sort of helping the SMEs, which is a great thing. It's about helping ourselves as well as chambers. So and this is probably, if there's one topic that's emerging, this and a few others is right up there. So let's add that in.
Well, Stu, one of the questions I had, seems like you're reading my mind a little bit, was the questions I had for Clara was some of the success stories since the launch in November last year in Singapore that you've had working with some chambers. Lennon, before we started this webinar, was detailing some of the success stories and achievements that you've had in such a short period of time. I was wondering if you could share some insights without revealing too many details on some of the wins you've had recently.
So actually, those that are public, I wouldn't mind sharing, right? One of the very recent announcement they had is actually with the Singapore Mandai Wildlife Group. So over there, they actually decided to decarbonize their supply chain. So they've actually approached us to help do so. So they embarked on the Green Excellence Program. So whether you're a manufacturer or a business, together with the Mandai, with the support of the Mandai, their suppliers are then asked to come on board for us to take on our services. So this is where they do it as a group, just like what Stuart said, where either you do it through a chamber or there are other different ways of doing it. And now, one of the big guys are taking the lead and says, I will then decarbonize my supply chain. So we are then doing direct collaborations with several of the larger companies. There are actually more to come in the next few months, actually, on some big announcements. At the same time, we understand that sometimes companies are asking, well, with all this sustainability, it seems to be a lot more about reporting and compliance, but no real benefit to us. So actually, we have also been in talks with several of the big banks around the region, and we are actually having a very, very soon, actually sometime this week, they're having an announcement on collaborations on green finance for companies that are not just located in Singapore, but around the region as well. So while we strengthen the value of why you should enter, or you should do sustainability, this is something we can do it regionally. So we're actually not just talking to Singapore banks, but as well as the other countries as well.
What I love about that, it's almost linking up what both Stu has mentioned in the study of many businesses asking about financing options, and now obviously you're working with some major banks across Singapore on this very issue. So that's very, very exciting. I'm gonna, in a moment, ask Lennon some questions around trends and potential opportunities in the future. But before I do so, Clara, one last question. You're not off the hook just yet. What would be your call to action for some of the chambers in the room today. We've got about 27 members, 27 participants, sorry, in the room today. What would be your call to action for the chambers?
I guess now that is February, it's coming end of February, it's still the start of the year. So I think it's good to kick off the start, understanding the pain points and the needs of your members in sustainability. And with that, then we can start providing targeted solutions to these to your members actually. So where needed, feel free to reach out to me, or I'll be happy to reach out to you to see how we can solve these points together so that we can support you in this. So as you support your members, then do not be afraid to ask for help to be supported in those as well. Yeah, there are many organizations like us that are more than willing to do so.
Excellent. Thank you, Clara, again for those insights. Wanted to wrap up this conversation with some insights from Lennon Tan. So you also, like Stu, wear multiple hats into this conversation, obviously in your day-to-day role as the president of SMF, as well as the vice president for sustainability in CASI. From that dual perspective, what are some trends in regards to sustainability that you're seeing in 2025 and beyond?
Thank you, Michael. I would based on the question, I'll say it this way. I think in the past, if I can call that, we always look at sustainability as an additional cost to your P&L, right? So you need to decarbonize, you need to do this, you need to do that. I think the trend now is really for company to look at sustainability in the form of ROI, okay? And also a cost of not doing, right? So you invest, you get some returns, and versus if you don't invest, what are some of the drastic consequences? I guess you can do it this way. So give an example. I would say why do we consider sustainability in the form of ROI? I'll give you an example. There are companies like big tech company like Apple, Samsung. If you remember a couple of years ago, when you buy an iPhone, it comes with everything, right? Manuals, charger, and things like that. Well, guess what now? Their packaging materials is reduced by more than 70% for some of their products, right? And you don't get a charger anymore, and sometimes perhaps maybe not even a cable, right? So are they right to do that? Some, of course, in the name of sustainability, why not, right? And you used to get these big packages because you pay $1,000 for a new item. You want it to look big and presentable, but now in the name of sustainability, it's all reduced. Plus, there are many materials right now that's being used that are on that's recycled materials and so on. So long story short is that it is not necessarily a cost plus, right? Especially when you look at decarbonization, you're looking at reducing your energy consumption, reducing water, and things like that. I'll give you an example. Unilever, this is quite early in about the year 2020. They came out with this program called Sustainable Living Plan. Well, I mean, basically what happened is that they look at all their factories all around the world and look at extreme way that they can reduce the use of water, that means reducing waste to the minimum. And after 3 years, they took an audit and look at the amount saved. They saved $1.2 billion for this sustain. Of course, it's more than what I just said, right? But this project, starting out to really embark on sustainable journey, saved them $1.2 billion, and they became one of the fastest growing traditional brand for consumer brands, faster than typical consumer brand by 69% in the sense of sustainable journey. Another company, for example, Tesla. Well, of course, Tesla is in the news for different reasons now, right? But if you look at their core of their products, the reason why Tesla have such a big following is when they start their company, they have sustainability in mind. All their products are recyclable. Every parts of their cars are recyclable. Their solar panels, everything, right? So it start off this way, right? And therefore they have a big following, and we know how that goes. They have high customer loyalty, as well as they are one of the most valuable company in the world right now. Something on the high tech side, TSMC. Well, for TSMC, probably the largest semicon producer in the world, and to be able to serve people like Apple, all the big brands, Samsung and so on, they embark on sustainable manufacturing really early, right? They are now the most sustainable semicon company, right? And therefore they are able to supply to any of this high-tech company. So the result of their sustainable practice is a vast efficiency in terms of waste, right? Reduction of waste, and therefore indirectly their cost. And as I mentioned, they are branded to be one of the highest ESG in terms of grading, by all their business partners. So it's not necessarily a cost. It is something that if you want to be a valuable company, if you want to go up there with the giants, you have to start somewhere. And I think APGA is ready to work with all the association here to help your businesses take that first step. That's all I have to say, Michael, for your question.
Excellent. Thank you, Lennon. It's very inspiring as some of the case studies that you mentioned, that these companies are not just having sustainability as a nice to have, but core to how they see themselves now and also into the future. We do have some Q&A questions from the audience. I'll ask these questions, and if we've got any response from any of the panelists, we can take them. So this is from Kalum, also from Sri Lanka. Their question is, are you into carbon tokenization concepts such as carbon credit? Is that included within APGA at all, or into what any of the entrepreneurs have mentioned?
So we do advisory services in that area. It's not in our standard packaging. So this is one of the customized ones. So I think the question on whether when you say carbon tokenization, is it to buy from, or is it that you want to create something like that? It's something that we are able to assist. And especially if you think that this would really help in the cross borders to other businesses, we are more than happy to be a bridge or to connect for that.
Excellent.
Michael,
Stu, you also went off mute.
just quickly on that one. I think it's leading on from what Lennon had to say. I think the whole world is, I think, in agreement we need a price on carbon, and so you move from externalizing the costs to internalizing or thinking about return on investment. It's an important part for chambers to play, and it's where I'm sure the Singaporeans and others in our group could talk about the role of chambers and their engagement with government and policy to establish these types of things, because tokenization and carbon credits, they're really good, but they need to be set within a really, really good policy framework, such as a price mechanism. So I would just say that's a really important role for chambers as well, even beyond the, I mean, I know it's included, but it's beyond the Asia Pacific Green Alliance work.
Great. Lennon, I saw you go off mute for a second as well. Was there anything you wanted to add to that question?
I think this is a very technical question. Like, for example, if we are buying carbon credit for CBAM, really there are only accredited carbon credits that you can buy from to buy in to meet the CBAM requirement. So the carbon tokenization, if you're going to do it, must meet certain frameworks, certain parameters where different. The biggest problem right now is every country will recognize your carbon credits, different carbon credits, different vendors, and things. It's, I won't say it's a mess, but it is something that is evolving, right? So I think you really need to have a target of who do you want to sell to, and then make sure that you make the accreditation. Tokenization is really very much just a mean of delivery, the way that I see it now.
Great. The next question we have from the audience is from anonymous attendee. So no name attached to this question. This is for Clara and Stuart. Do you help entrepreneurs directly or through the chambers? Good question.
I can probably start if you like. I can see we're getting a little bit low on time as well, so I'll make it quick. Basically, I think the best thing to do in this is, I mean, it will depend on chamber to chamber. Clara can talk about what she does, but I would just encourage now and then the Vice President of Entrepreneurship, if it's the last thing I say, join your entrepreneurship network in your country. Get in contact with Cassie and try and join the Young Entrepreneurs Group of Asia Pacific. Send Michael an email if you like. And that group together will help solve problems like this together, and also connect you with the Asia Pacific Green Alliance people, and also other types of services that you can get to help yourself directly in this regard. So thank you.
Thanks, Stu. Clara, do you help entrepreneurs directly or through chambers?
Yeah, I mean, I think rather than say entrepreneurs, we do help businesses directly if and when the chambers we haven't yet connected with the chambers. But we do strongly encourage do it through chambers because they have the localized knowledge. But we definitely work directly with companies, including entrepreneurs. It really depends on what kind of help you need. Sometimes you have to assess. For us, we really focus on sustainability initiatives, or is it something that if chambers can provide you with a wider range of services that you need as an entrepreneur?
Thanks, Clara. As Stu mentioned, we are running short on time. The group before we started this webinar was afraid that we would have too much time and not enough questions, and I was only able to ask about 10% of the questions that we listed. So thank you. You've made my job very easy with some of the responses you've given, and thank you to our audience members who asked some great questions. So once again, thank you, Stu, Clara, and Lennon, for your time being on this panel and for your presentations. Lennon, I'm going to end with a challenge for you to give a summary and a closing to this session, but also a strong call to action for what chambers can do next. So over to you, Lennon.
Thank you, Michael, for the great modifying. Well, I mean, this really brings us to the end of our session, and I just want to again give thanks to Cassie, Secretary, for organizing this, Michael, for moderating the session, and Stuart, for really giving us a lot of insight about your perspective on entrepreneurship as well as sustainability. Clara is definitely our go-to person after this if you need more information about APGA. Now, I would say that sustainability is really a journey, and really collaboration is the key. So if today's discussion has given you some new ideas or some new questions, I would encourage you to continue a conversation with us, whether it's certification, carbon reporting, and so on. I think APGA is now here to support all of you in making sustainability an actionable and impactful journey, right? So for more information, please contact Clara. And if Clara doesn't answer, I will definitely be happy to jump in, right? So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for today's participation. And remember, today's seminar is really just a start, right? It's just a seed. Think about your journey and approach us anytime. Thank you.